Okay, I think we're live now. Okay, Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to the webinar session on the final year projects, new ideas at SZABIST Karachi campus. I am the host for tonight's session, and my name is Muhammad Asim Ali. I am working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science for the past 6 years now. I did my bachelor's degree from PFKIT in software engineering, and then I went to England, from where I completed my master's degree in software project management. I have also worked for different software houses. For instance, I have worked in Computer Research Private Limited, Byte IT Consultants, and Creatives, and a few more companies. I have been associated with the education industry for the past 10 years now, and the courses which I teach at SZABIST are software engineering, software testing, software project management, human-computer interaction, and research report. And in addition to this, I myself also advise a number of final year projects, so it could be interesting to discuss on different final year projects and related ideas with my guest here tonight. But before I introduce our today's guest, let me give you a brief introduction about SZABIST. So SZABIST, as you all know, started in 1995 with its first campus in Karachi. Last year, we celebrated our Silver Jubilee year. Today, SZABIST has 6 campuses, which are located in Karachi, Hyderabad, Larkana, Islamabad, Dubai, and Cairo. SZABIST has currently a student population of over 12,000 and proudly awarded degrees to over 14,500 talented graduates. SZABIST offer degrees in 8 different disciplines, and these include management sciences, computer sciences, media sciences, social sciences, mechatronic engineering, education, life sciences, and law. Okay, so now that I have introduced myself and SZABIST, I think it's time to introduce our esteemed guest for tonight's session. And for our guest for today's session is Mr. Adeel Ahmed. He is working in the computer science department as an assistant professor. He completed his master's degree from USA in the field of software engineering and database. And presently he is pursuing his PhD degree from SZABIST. He has over 14 years of technical as well as teaching experience. He has previously worked as deputy director in the government sector, as an IT manager at NED University, and worked as a system engineer at CDC Pakistan. Currently at SZABIST, he is also the final year projects coordinator. He teaches programming, databases, and software engineering courses. He is also looking after the final year projects for the past 3 years now. So I think it would be really nice to hear from his overall experience of conducting final year projects at SZABIST and why students should be looking forward to working on new FYP ideas in the different emerging areas. So I think, Mr. Adeel, you are ready for some entertaining questions, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Sure.
right. So let's begin with the questions. Mr. Adeel, can you please begin with the FYP in the first place? For our audience, can you please briefly explain what is meant by the final year projects in computer science department at SZABIST?
Sure. Thank you, Asim. As you mentioned that I have been coordinating final year projects at SZABIST. So, based on my experience, what I've noticed is that the final year project at SZABIST in computer science department basically focuses on the real world problems. We kind of ask our students to specifically focus on practical problems to which they can come up with practical solutions. It's usually a 1-year based project which spans over 2 semesters. So in the first semester, students register in the first year project 1 course, which is of 3 credit hours. And obviously they submit a proposal and everything, which is a process which we can discuss later on maybe. And subsequent to their success in the first semester, they register in the second semester course, which is final year project 2, wherein they continue working on the same project. So and fulfill or meet all the remaining requirements of the FYP. In this, what they're supposed to do is basically whatever they've learned in the discipline of computer sciences through different courses, they apply those skills, and their could be a possibility wherein any additional or complementary skills that they might have learned on their own, they can also use the same in implementing the final year project. So this is basically what we generally have at SZABIST when it comes to conduct of FYP.
Okay, good. Thank you. So now, can you tell us some of the specializations or domains, or so to speak, the areas within computer science in which students can implement their ideas in?
Well, sure. As I explained, that we ask the students to come up with real-world problems, are usually some of the emerging areas that we often focus on. However, we offer a number of courses which are related to the programming, databases, networking, graphic designing, for example.
Okay.
And also the recent ones would include data sciences, for example, artificial intelligence, mobile development, cloud infrastructure, cybersecurity, entrepreneurship. So all these courses combined together, students often come up with ideas which are relevant to these courses. But however, recently what we have been trying is to ask the students to mainly focus on emerging areas and don't come up with the primitive or traditional ideas, so as they can compete with the rest of the world and also bring in some sort of contribution towards not only the academia but also the industry, local industry, and also contribute towards the economy of Pakistan. If supposedly their ideas are really good, which might in some way or the other generate revenue. So we kind of motivate the students on those lines.
Okay, right. And with regards to taking FYPs, can you please confirm if there are any mandatory courses required for the final year projects at SZABIST?
Sure. Since final year project is offered as part of final year program, so prior to that, students have to generally take programming, databases, and other core courses. So most importantly, if students have not cleared programming related courses such as Introduction to Software Development or Advanced Web Technologies courses, so we can't allow students to implement or undertake FYP. That is a requirement. However, after the FYP1, after the FYP1 is done in the 7th semester, which is the final year, if it is not cleared, FYP1, so that serves as the prerequisite for the FYP2. So students, it's mandatory for the students to clear programming related courses prior to the registration in the FYP1, and the clearance of FYP1 is mandatory, which serves as a prerequisite to the FYP2 in 2nd semester, which is 8th semester in the final.
8th semester.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And before we discuss about these areas in general, or the FYP ideas in specific, I think we should talk about the importance of undertaking the final year project in computer science, specifically from a student's perspective.
Sure. Well, final year project in itself, it's the single most important takeaway, or you can say some sort of goal that we ask the students to aim for, to kind of take something with them at the end of the 4 years. So it's really very important in the entire CS program. What we ask the students, as I explained earlier, that they should take a specific problem. Now that can be a real world problem or anything that they might face in their daily routines, or maybe if there's any particular issue that they don't find any automated solution on with regard to the business of their, let's say, parents or their colleagues, right? So we kind of ask them to come up with a specific problem. But it would be really nice if that is kind of associated with emerging areas, because we don't want to deal with, again, as I said, primitive and traditional projects which sometimes happen to be repetitive in nature. So after the selection of such problem, we ask the students to come up with a specific solution. Now that solution, the students should aim to basically develop a product, or we encourage them to build a service. Now, having a product or a service at the end of their bachelor program, this kind of helps them in many different ways. So how does it help? Well, they can market the same. If they have a product or a service, they can market the same at the end of their graduation to the companies or to the organization as part of their CV. Or if they have really worked upon a specific problem, they've come up with a solution. So they have a lot of things to talk about, the problems that they face, as to how they come up with the solution. And also, if they have a keen interest in starting their own business, if they don't want to go for the job, so what they can do is they can start their own startup, right? Or go towards that solution or that path. I mean, so they should start working on the idea as early as possible. That means what we are saying is maybe they should not depend on the 4th year. They should not wait for the 4th year. Rather, what they should do is maybe think about the idea as early as possible in the 2nd year, so that they can work on iterative kind of development in different courses during 2nd year and 3rd year, and have an opportunity to build a full-fledged product by the end of their final year, or a solution or a service.
Okay, that is very good to hear, and I think many audience would benefit from your detailed answers. Anyway, I think this is really getting quite interesting. And one thing, since you said that students should start thinking about their final year projects as early as possible, so this means that you are suggesting that they can even officially start it before their final year, let's say 2nd or 3rd year.
Well, if you're asking me officially, so obviously it's not possible. They cannot start this officially. Unofficially, yes. So they have a problem. What they can do is they can prioritize their ideas. They can start working on them as early as possible. They can have an iterative or modular approach. What they can do is they can start building small projects during their courses in 2nd and 3rd year, right? And continue to build that particular product or the service, and obviously have someone in the loop, such as a faculty member or the advisor, so they can try 2-3 different ideas, and one of the ideas that they kind of feel like interested in, they can take motivation from that and continue to build that, so they get enough confidence prior to registration of FYP1 in their final year. So kind of the answer to your question would be, officially they cannot register, but however, unofficially they should mentally prepare themselves to have a topic or an idea as soon as possible, or as early as possible. Yes.
Okay, all right. And can you please give us an example of any such FYP idea or application as to how a student could start one in his early semester?
Yes, sure. There are various different examples. For example, today we're talking about newer emerging ideas. So assuming there's a project in AI, right? Such as, for example, social network platform. So we usually use Facebook, which is a social network application. Similar applications can be built for specific communities, wherein for specific features, we can use AI to get specific solutions. For example, friends matching, if we want to find out a number of relevant groups, or number of relevant people, a number of relevant projects in terms of searches and everything. So there are lots of opportunities wherein we can use AI. Now, such project is generally considered so big that what you can do is you can partition the same or compartmentalize the same into smaller modules. So those smaller modules can be taken up as projects in individual courses in 2nd year or in 3rd year, such as in programming courses, databases courses, or web-related courses. We also offer kind of mobile development courses. We have research report courses or entrepreneurship course, wherein they can focus on the costing, the revenue, the marketing, the prototype aspects of the project. So you see, each product, or when building a specific service, there are lots of different aspects that we must consider. It's not just about computer science or building a computational solution to it. So what we encourage to students is compartmentalize the idea, build some sort of smaller projects in their courses, and when they're about to take FYP, they should simply have a time that allows them to finish their product. instead of starting it in their final year.
Okay.
You know, such as, for example, they can build dashboard if they feel like they can improve GUI, or they can have the analytics module, or they can go for deployment, for example, in final year. They can look for clientele that would generate the revenue for them. So they shouldn't be simply focusing in final year on FYP on building the solution itself or coding. Rather, there are various different aspects that could be done as part of final year, and the technical part, major technical part, could be undertaken in second and third year.
Okay, thank you. All right, okay, and this brings us to very important issues which is faced by many students as to who could give them directions on choosing ideas from different domains, or if we could ask as to who could advise them on this.
Okay, so yes, the idea is very important as we're discussing the ideas about FYP today. So for the ideas, there are various different resources or points of contact where they can look into or look upon. The first one is obviously the FYP resources that we have at our department. The starting point is FYP coordinator, which can be any person. Usually these days it's me. They can ask the FYP coordinator about the resources. What we tell them is that we have a FYP website. They can look into that. We have past projects. They can have an idea about what type of projects are approved and what type of projects students work upon. They can contact faculty members who act as advisors on these projects. And because faculty members, they're usually, you know, not only teaching, but they're also undertaking the research. So when they undertake the research, they have kind of various different projects that could be offered as part of FYP. I'm not saying it has to be a research-oriented project. It can be one, but from there they can get the ideas. And another resource would be FYP handbook. The other resources could be talk to seniors for the FYP ideas, or maybe finally they can bring in their own ideas, as I had explained earlier, which they're interested in or they want to tackle in their FYPs.
Okay, thank you for your reply, Mr. Adeel. And so we talked about working on the FYPs, but I think there's a very important question that I want to ask you. That can you please explain how many students can work on a single project? Because this rule, I mean, there are different universities, they have different criteria. What about SZABIST? What about your department?
At SZABIST, that's correct. You rightly pointed out that different universities have different criteria. At SZABIST, what we generally encourage is to have smaller teams, because you know usually when you have too many people or too many students in a group, so their majority of them are like sleeping partners.
Exactly.
We want to avoid that situation. Right. So generally we say there has to be 2. But in some odd situations, we accept 3. But that's usually rare. It's not common.
Okay, so on that note, does your department allow students to make their own groups?
Yes, definitely. We kind of don't force the students with the groups, because you know one student might not be comfortable with working with another student. So it has to be student choice. And when you have 2 people who kind of have maybe same frequency, or they are on the same,
same level.
Yeah, same level, or maybe they everyone's intellectual curiosity is different. Their background is different. So it's ideal that we allow students to find their own partners. So yeah, we allow them to
Right. Okay. So let's sort of talk about advisors. And are the advisors assigned by the department, or the students get to choose their own advisor?
No, definitely. Students have a choice. They can, as I said earlier, they can meet different faculty members. We provide them with their contact numbers, emails, all information of all possible advisors is provided to them on the website, or they can find it out through me, or contacting the FYP coordinator and general or program manager within the department. So usually they talk to them. That helps them decide who can guide them better, and they can also, since they have different ideas, so maybe they can relate to different advisors based on their domains, because every faculty member has their own domain. They can have their own motivation, so students are given this choice to decide their own advisors. Yes.
Okay, right. And can the same advisor advise multiple groups? Is it possible?
Yes, usually we allow that because we have too many groups. As I said, the number of teams is huge, and the number of students per group is very minimal, which is up to 2. So yeah, we usually allow around 4 to 5 groups per advisor. Again, that depends on the number of students in the batch and also number of faculty members who can supervise. So yeah, we don't generally exceed 5 groups per advisor.
Okay, that is good to hear. And can you please tell how the students can find about the advisors who can supervise their projects?
Yeah, sure. As I said earlier, we have different resources. Usually the first point of contact is FYP website. Through this, we provide students with the details of faculty members or the advisors. They can take their appointments, they can meet them in person, and so that's how they usually reach different advisors.
Okay, that's fine. So let's talk about the advisor a little bit more, right? So are the advisors solely responsible on selecting their ideas?
No. As we said, we encourage students to come up with their own ideas. So as we are discussing on the topic of new or emerging ideas, so it's quite possible that faculty members might not become, sometimes they might not be comfortable working on the new ideas, but the student is. So we can't, force advisors to ask the students to work upon their ideas. Rather, the students are encouraged to take their ideas, or maybe ask these potential supervisors or advisors to suggest them as to what topics they can work on or what areas they can work on. So yeah, students are responsible.
Okay, all right. Okay, so you are saying that SZABIST allows students to select their own ideas, right?
Yes.
Okay, that is good. So okay, let's move to some other questions. And next, I want to ask you some really important questions. So can you give us some pointers on how students should approach the idea, or what are some important guidelines on selecting a specific idea for the FYP?
Yes. Now, if you ask me, this is like $1 million question.
Exactly.
This is very important, because usually when students come up with different ideas, we are like, wow, how can you select such a topic for FYP?
Exactly.
This could not even be sometimes considered a project of a specific course. So why? Because you see, there are so many reasons. What we ask the students is, consider a potential problem. As I explained earlier, it has to have a unique selling point. Now, if they come up with hotel management system, even these days, or hospital management system as part of their FYP, obviously it's trivial, it's insignificant in the sense that it's a primitive idea. There have been lots of groups who have already worked upon these ideas. So we kind of ask them to come up with a potential problem. It has to have a unique selling point that should highlight some sort of innovation, ease of use, maybe that should address the ease of use, or you can say it might promote the efficacy of a certain process. For example, we can talk about projects like in healthcare or in education. You kind of don't get new projects sometimes. You can have the same project, but with a varying degree of complexity or a different business process that you can come up with and say, hey sir, well, the idea although happens to be the same, but our business process is different, so we kind of do this, we want to do the same. So that would advocate the ease of use, maybe project, or project might advocate the efficacy of the process. And ultimately what we're looking for in an idea, as I said earlier, that it should promote the development of a product or maybe a specific service that would contribute something back to the society, back to the academia, or back to the government maybe, or society at large, so that some people can take benefit out of such effort.
Yeah, thank you. And can you please talk a little bit about how does FYP idea get approved in your department? What is the evaluation process?
Usually, once the students have finalized their topic, they, for example, any project on AI, let's say they want to predict the traffic at a signal at different point in times during the day, or maybe the load of the traffic across different areas in a city, right? So what we ask them is to build a proposal. That proposal is submitted to the panel. The panel evaluates the proposal. We have a formal meeting on that, wherein we have various relevant faculty members who are experts in their areas of specializations. They evaluate the same, and based on that, the proposal either gets accepted or rejected.
Okay, right. Thank you. And on that note, does all the your FYP ideas get approved, or there is any chance that a project might be rejected by the panel?
No, it's usually that most of the ideas can be accepted, provided the scope of the project is not too shallow, or the idea is not again primitive or old. And in this case, what we are suggesting is the role of advisor is very important. If someone comes from AI field or from blockchain area, right? So the projects has to be relevant to that particular person's domain, that advisor's domain. Or if the advisor is not relevant to a particular domain, obviously such a proposal submitted by such a group through such advisor could be rejected, because he might not have an idea as to what type of scope is demanded in other types of projects, to which he is not really the relevant person who should have taken this group. So yeah, the role of advisor is very important. The projects can be approved or they can be rejected based on a variety of different factors.
Okay, so since we are talking about rejection of projects, so can you please share details on why some projects might be rejected? What are the reasons? What might be the reasons?
Mostly, I think I covered this in one of your previous questions probably, that usually students come up with narrow scope or primitive idea, wherein they are not addressing the innovation, ease of use, or they're not solving a specific problem. It's kind of a run-of-the-mill idea, So for all these various reasons, we don't accept such projects. What we're focusing on is ideas which have some sort of problem, or they are beneficial in some way, or they are using a new kind of process, or they're coming up with an innovative technique that that solves a old type of project in a new based on new approach.
Okay, right. So I think it's time to take some questions from the audience as well. So we have a question from Mr. Naveed Ghani, 81. So if you can see his question on the screen, that can FYP projects be done in collaboration with the industry?
Sure. The projects that we usually allow students to take, those projects, as we discussed earlier, have to address a particular problem. So if the students are linked with industry, if in their own capacity, or if the industry, any other companies or organizations, they kind of consult us and they have a specific problem or a project that they want the students to work on, so we definitely allow that. But for that, we give a formal approval. It has to be presented before the proposal or FYP committee. If it approves, again, it's subject to all those modalities that we talked about. It has all such projects have to address all the aspects that we talked about with regard to the FYP. So in that case, definitely we would allow it.
Okay, that is very good to hear. Right. Well, we all know that students take different semester-based projects, right? So when we talk about FYPs, can you little bit differentiate between what is the difference between a project, a course-based project, and an FYP?
Yeah, sure. A course-based project is the one which students take in a particular course. This course is conducted in one semester. However, in case of FYP, it's conducted in two semesters. Usually, a course-based project is of 25 marks. That means the student's effort would be roughly 1/4 of the effort required to complete that particular course. However, in case of FYP, the credit hours are 6. It usually spans over 2 semesters, and then the scope of such project has to be roughly 5 to 10 times more than what we usually have of a project in a particular course. Now, this is something what we need to communicate to the students, so that they don't come up with this, with FYPs which have too shallow scope or narrow scope. So that really is very important for us to communicate to the students, and we have to put a lot of effort in that regard.
Okay, right. Thank you. And what are the special courses that are offered at SZABIST in relation to the new FYP ideas?
Yeah, so with regard to new FYP ideas, we have a number of courses that we offer at SZABIST. This includes AI, artificial intelligence. This includes data sciences. Most of these courses are offered in 7th semester, or usually maybe sometimes in 6th semester, because some of these courses are electives. So depending on the free slot, again, program manager knows more about this than me, but usually these courses are offered in 6th and 7th semester. So these may include mobile development such as Android and iOS or game design. We also have a research report course that might address the research aspects of such projects. And then we have entrepreneurship, for example. So all these courses are offered related to the new emerging ideas. With regard to the blockchain, we haven't, I guess, offered any course as yet, but I remember we have worked on this area, and it's expected in probably coming semester or coming semesters, I must say, this would be offered. So yeah,
okay.
That's
okay,
that's
thank you.
That which can look upon. Yeah,
which can definitely. Okay, so previously you talked about the idea might be getting rejected by the panel, right? So I forgot to ask one important question: that what happens if an idea if an idea is rejected by the panel? So can student resubmit the idea, or what really happens then?
sure. Students can resubmit the idea. So there are two reasons. Mainly, there are two reasons. There can be other reasons as well. So we can ask students to submit a fresh proposal with a new idea, or revision is sometimes advised if the scope is too narrow. So we look into the number of features that address a specific topic. Based on the feedback of the panel, we allow students to resubmit a fresh proposal or come up with a revised idea. We also allow students to take on board one or two members from the panel, so that this time around when they're resubmitting, they won't face the same issues.
Yes, okay, that will be helpful for the students. So talking about the ideas, you previously mentioned that the repetition of ideas is usually not allowed by the SZABIST institution. So
Yes.
how do students get to find out about what has been implemented in the past by the by the old students, by the previous students?
Again, a number of factors which I've already mentioned. This would include they should review past projects, for which we have a website. They can look into it. So they shouldn't be coming up exactly with the same ideas. But even if they're coming up, again, this happens a lot. If they're even trying to come up with the same idea, again, they should focus on the core aspects of the project, core functional aspects of the project, within which they can change the business process so that those can be accepted. So in order to avoid the repetition, they should talk to advisors. Advisor has the knowledge as to what could be accepted and what could not be accepted. And we encourage students to focus more on recent trends such as AI, blockchain, data sciences, IoT, Internet of Things, kind of these areas. So that helps a lot. That would reduce the chances of rejection.
Okay, good. So I think it would be really helpful for the viewers and the audience if you could quote a few examples on how the same idea can be implemented differently.
So, for example, if we talk about emergency health response system application, which could be web-based or mobile-based application, in such applications previously, usually in such sort of applications or systems, previously people would dial a number to call an ambulance. But this time around, having latest technology, apps, and everything, what they can do is they can embed the location feature. And instead of calling the ambulance on its own, we can have a button or a trigger within the application that can locate the person, with what sort of emergency issue they're facing, and some nearby ambulance or the hospital can be tracked. And again, that would ease the situation. So, although this happens to be an old application, but if we change the business process, this can become fresh FYP idea. Another application could be gaming. Instead of using the keyboard or the mouse input, we can have we can take input of different gestures such as eyes, speech, or hands movement, or running or walking kind of gestures. So that would be different input. So again, the game could be an old one, the concept could be an old one, but if we integrate or embed kind of new features, recent technological features, the same project would be accepted.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And since you have been associated with the teaching and the industry for more than 10 years, can you please suggest some of the few emerging areas whereby the students should explore to work upon?
Definitely AI, machine learning, deep learning, blockchain, data sciences, IoT, Internet of Things, robotics, although it could be directly and indirectly related with AI, but all these are emerging areas and they should focus on these areas.
So does the computer science department at SZABIST offers any specialized courses in these areas to begin with?
Sure. We offer data sciences, machine learning, AI, mobile development type of courses, entrepreneurship, as I said. So yes, definitely there is a specific focus on offering such courses so as we may encourage our students to take FYPs on the emerging topics.
Okay. Right. Next, I think it would be really beneficial for viewers and for me also, if you can please elaborate a little bit about these emerging areas.
Sure. AI, AI, artificial intelligence, it's some sort of technology that enables machine to simulate human behavior, right? So the goal of AI would be to make smart computer systems like humans to solve complex problems. So AI, it's a wide-ranging branch of computer science which is concerned with building smart machines, I would say, capable of performing tasks that are typically require human intelligence. Similarly, we have special areas within AI such as machine learning, deep learning. Again, it's a bit different from AI. We have learning systems that automatically learns from past data. Then we have blockchain, which is a block-to-block network, which are interconnected with each other. It takes certain sort of data from one place to another place, has its hash value attached to it, which keeps track of the hash value of the previous block. So it's an integrated peer-to-peer network, which is decentralized in nature. It's secure. It's difficult to hack such systems. Blockchain technology usually supports cryptocurrencies as well, such as we have seen Bitcoin and the other currencies which are supported by such blockchain networks, I would say. Then we have game design. Game design could be used to build different applications which address the development of video games, for example, which could be used by handicapped persons as well, depending on whether they're deaf or blind or whatever. So, or they can be used by the children. So all these are the areas which we focus upon. Again, all these areas we can use different applications and tools to build a number of different projects.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adeel. I think it's now a time for us to take a few comments or few comments from the audience. So Mr. Ali bin Faisal, he says there should be some ideas that relate business with CS. So I think almost all of our FYPs at SZABIST, they are linked with business, right?
Yes, definitely. I would say the ideas that the question says there should also be some ideas that relate business with CS. So again, we talk about these areas. In these areas, the applications, most of the problems that we encourage the students to work upon are the ones wherein they can generate revenue. So for example, the applications of AI could be in robotics. Robotics are the ones which facilitate a business process. For example, you've seen the robots being used in Amazon and other big companies for the logistics purposes. So again, they kind of complement the business activity, and they help in, for example, in HR. So in HR, we can have AI-based applications wherein they can smartly filter as to who could be selected for a particular job based on the job description. So this can be automatically done. We can have AI applications in healthcare. So healthcare, again, is the business. So any area that you take, it has a number of different businesses. So any application of AI that we are asking our students to build, for example, or focus upon, they, in one way or another way, directly and indirectly, they are catering to the businesses.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adeel. So now you have told about the artificial intelligence and what is basically meant by it. I think it would be really beneficial if you can just briefly tell us about a few applications of AI and the relevant projects in AI in which students could consider taking as their FYPs.
Sure. AI can be used in e-commerce, so they can develop the personalized shopping applications. For example, they can build fraud prevention applications. AI can be used in navigation. It uses the convolution neural networks or graph neural networks. So the applications that help that can make lives of users easier by detecting number of lanes, for example, or the road types behind obstructions on roads, so that those sort of applications and navigations are heavily used by companies like Uber, right? AI in robotics, as I said earlier, that it can sense paths and it can sense obstacles, so that can be used in carrying goods in hospitals, factories, for example. Similarly, we can have AI applications in HR, we can have AI applications in healthcare. Some of the project ideas that we can share with the students could be cancer prevention, for example, or student result prediction as to what their grades could be in the coming semesters based on their efforts in the previous semesters. We can have early warning systems or flood and earthquake systems, for example. We can have so many different applications. Again, at SZABIST, we offer such courses wherein we give exposure to students on such areas so that they can better decide on their FYP ideas.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to repeat the same question for game designing as well. Like, what sort of projects can students consider for their FYPs?
Usually, the game-related applications are the ones wherein they can use 3D softwares or 2D softwares to build different games. There can be various different applications, technologies which they can use, such as Unity, Unreal Engine, for example, Game Maker Studio, and many more tools. Usually, we ask them to build games such as 3D shooting games or car games, which are 3D racing car games or 2D cards games, for example. We had resources at SZABIST Gaming Lab, wherein we had now this robot, wherein students built those applications where students were interacting with the robot and they were playing games. One was on the soccer, I believe. Another was on sorting different types of balls and placing them in different corners. So there was certain goals. So yeah, so all these types of applications or games could be built in the game design discipline.
Okay, and lastly, I cannot obviously neglect the blockchain. So finally, I would really appreciate if you can, spend some time and explain about the blockchain and what sort of, sorry, not explain, you have already explained the blockchain, but what about the projects which students can take in blockchain, because it is a rather new technology and many of us are not aware about the blockchain.
So in blockchain, we have a number of tools and technologies which can be used to develop projects. These may include Ethereum platform, Corda, Arc, EOS. We have Neo platforms. So all these platforms could be used, and the programming languages which are used here are C, C++, Java, Python, JavaScript. All these, a recent programming language, if I may recall, Solidity, I believe, that can also be used to develop these applications. And the projects associated with blockchain could be, any of the applications wherein you have to maintain the ledger, wherein the updates are not recorded usually, they're used for timestamps. For example, the cryptocurrencies, they use the blockchain technology in the backend. So any systems which are developed in education sector, for example, where they can create degree verification system or electronic voting system or land registration systems. Such systems or applications could be built based on blockchain technology. Again, this technology has its uses across various different disciplines, as we talked with regard to the AI. So all such applications could also be built with this application, but again, the context of such FYPs would be different because blockchain is not AI and AI is not blockchain.
Obviously.
So yes, the domains could be same, but the context and the application of these projects could be different. I'm sorry I have to interrupt. We have Azan in the background, so I'm not really sure if you can hear me.
Yes, I think obviously let's take a break for I think a minute or so, right?
Sure.
Sure, thank you. Okay, shall we resume?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so all right. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so as you said that AI is the emerging field in Pakistan and worldwide as well. So can you please tell us a few companies in Pakistan who hire such individuals, or can you name a few companies that are famous in artificial intelligence?
Yeah, sure. So definitely, students have a concern that if they are working on such type of projects and if that becomes their
Exactly.
selling point, would they be able to land a job in some of the companies? Yes, definitely. We have a lot of companies who are transitioning towards AI, ML, and data sciences. And
Okay.
amongst such companies, we have Temples, Affinity. Affinity is a subsidiary of the company which is basically located in the US. Again, based on the customer reviews or customer queries, they provide an AI-based solution to that. So Affinity, TPS, we have 𝗷𝗹𝗹, 𝗙𝗺_Republic, or I believe AI, if I may recall the name correctly. So all these companies we have here. So it's not the case that the students won't get a chance to land a job here in Pakistan.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that is very good to hear that a lot of companies in Pakistan are hiring such individuals, and Pakistan is progress on the way in artificial intelligence. Okay, so now let's about another important issue, which is the project funding. Can you please confirm if students can get any fundings on their final year projects?
So usually we used to have any specific funding for FYPs, but we
Okay.
ask the students if they need it because we started this process wherein we realized that some of the students who work on hardware-related projects, sometimes they need funding. So we have started this process. We have made a proposal wherein we expect that some sort of funding would be allocated to students in the coming semesters, inshallah. However, besides this, we have a national program which is called Ignite. It's a program which addresses the funding both at the FIP level or at the startup level. Since last 2 to 3 years, our students who develop their FIPs, they participate in the Ignite and for FIP funding specifically. And I'm glad to inform you that a number of our students or their FYPs have been selected for funding. So depending on the cost of the FYPs, the same is reimbursed to them during or after at the end of their FYPs. And subsequent to that, if they want to compete at the national level, they can also win the prizes at the national level, or they can get the seed funding so that they may start. They may continue with their startups.
Okay, and I think the last question which I want to ask from you is that what kind of resources are available at SZABIST with regards to final year projects?
We have lots of resources available for the students. Thank you for asking this.
Yes, it is an important question.
Yes. Yeah, sure. So what we have is we have a gaming lab, and we have a number of equipments which include now it's a humanoid robot, for which I already talked about earlier with regard to different gaming-related applications which will be based on now. We have HoloLens, which is a Microsoft equipment for the augmented reality. That can also be used. We have a couple of motion capture tools, which includes Neuron motion capture and Rococo motion capture. These tools can record the gestures or motion of people, which has its different applications, across different domains. Such FYPs can be built on top of them. So all these resources are available for the students, and so these kind of provide students with, you can say, a new horizon or a different path to the judicial or primitive projects. So such resources could be used. Yeah.
Okay, now I think there are a lot of resources. And before I end this session, I think let us take a final question from the audience.
Sure.
Right? Okay. So the question is there any industry collaboration of SZABIST where companies can visit and see these FYP's projects firsthand?
Sure. What we do is we usually have exhibitions such as ZABFest, wherein our students exhibit their projects. They showcase their effort. We invite a number of people from industry, from leading companies. They not only act as our visitors, but also they can evaluate our projects, so they act as externals. That kind of bears liaison between industry and SZABIST. The interesting part that I have to tell you is that sometimes what I've witnessed is students bring in their CVs, or sometimes the evaluators themselves, the externals, they would be interested in the CVs of the students because they really kind of appreciate the work that they've put in, Okay. So we have found out that before even graduating, such students get a chance to land the jobs which they might not have thought about before appearing in ZABFest. It's kind of a showcase event for FYPs. So definitely we have different type of collaborations with industry, wherein we provide an opportunity to the students to showcase their work.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Adeel, for your time and giving us your valuable information related to the final year projects at SZABIST. And with this, I think this is all from today's webinar session. Thank you, no problem. I think it was a very fruitful session for all of us, especially for the new prospective students who are looking to apply at SZABIST for admission in the computer science department. My name is Asim, and have a nice weekend. Allah Hafiz. Thank you.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.